Quique Setien is no longer the man to lead Barcelona. Samuel Marsden is joining me for reaction to this breaking news, Sam. And I suppose after a season to forget for Barcelona and a humiliating loss to Bayern Munich in the Champions League, we figured that changes were coming, and this is exactly where it was going to start. Some feel that Setien was kind of done wrong in this situation. Where do you stand, and where did it just go wrong for him at Barcelona?
Yeah, it's true that Setien has been done wrong a little bit, I guess, but it's also true that he has contributed to his own downfall. It's probably important to start by noting that we were told last week ahead of the Bayern Munich game that the manager search had already started. So even though obviously they went on to 8-2, that completely sealed his sacking, which happened today and didn't come as a surprise to anyone. But that was always going to be the case, really. Once they lost the league title to Real Madrid in July, they sort of came to a consensus for him to stay on for the Champions League. But even we're told even success in the Champions League wouldn't have been enough to save his job. It's obviously just been accelerated and happening in much more dramatic circumstances because of the way they were taken apart on Friday by Bayern. Everyone knows by now from the way they were taken apart by Bayern, it's been a big story. You know that Barca were a mess on the pitch on Friday, but that's been a result of being a mess off the pitch for the last sort of 2 years, 3 years, maybe even longer under this current board. So Setien's sort of been working against a lot of factors. But it's also true that he's not been able to do what he said he wanted to do or was going to do when he came in January. He spoke, this idea of being a Cruyffista, someone who would come in and change Barca's style, get them playing that attractive, the famous Barca DNA way. And there were signs early on that he was going to do that, but we quickly saw the sort of struggle between him and the dressing room. He reverted to a more pragmatic style, as we'd seen under Ernesto Valverde before. He didn't play the young players. He stuck to the aging spine, the same players that had been taken apart by Roma and Liverpool in the last 2 years. And I think he just couldn't get his ideas across to the players. And yeah, he definitely contributed to his own downfall in the end as well, even though he's not the main or the sum of the club's problems, if you will.
And I know you've been all over it on Twitter, of course, and another big detail from that statement from Barcelona was the fact that they have brought forward the election. So how soon have they brought it forward? And do you foresee this being, the huge change that is actually going to finally help Barcelona get back to winning ways and get Lionel Messi happy and probably keep him there for the rest of his career?
Yeah, the key thing with the elections is Bartomeu, who is the current president, cannot stand again. So whatever happens, we're going to have a new president before this time next year in March. They've brought elections forward to March. It doesn't make a huge difference, really. Lots of people wanted them to happen now, wanted Bartomeu to quit. He's the one that's been blamed for the situation the club find themselves in. And I guess ultimately he's the president. He's the one that has to take responsibility for the decisions and the mismanagement, which has led Barca from, the Pep Guardiola years, the treble under Luis Enrique, and then all of a sudden they're in this situation where they've not won a trophy and they're being humiliated year after year in the Champions League. But he's resisted that call to resign. He's brought forward the elections to March. So by effect, he's really in charge for the next season as well. So we've got sort of a season of uncertainty, really, because we've got a president and his board and his appointees, the manager and the sporting director that he wants in place. But players coming to the club or players at the club know that next March is going to be a completely new team. So there's not really a project for the next year. It's a 1 year project, and then it could all be thrown up again. The hope is that elections will change things, but that's still a long way down the line. So it's going to be a really difficult season for Barca with that uncertainty, and we don't really know. Obviously the argument is to have elections now, but it's not that simple because you need to have sort of an election period. People need to be ready. And in the meantime, we've got sort of 3 weeks until the season starts again. Elections wouldn't be able to take place for, I think it's 40 days in the statutes that they need before the elections can take place, in which time a temporary board would be in place. So then how do you appoint a manager? How do you revamp the squad when you've got all this in place? So even though the obvious situation might be for the board to go, for Bartomeu to go, it's not that simple either.
I was going to say, vaya con Dios, go with God, whichever manager decides to come in, because it does sound like a hot mess behind the scenes, as you've just described. But regardless of that, we're still hearing about Ronald Koeman. What do you think about that one, and you think how likely it is to happen?
Yeah, we understand from today that, talks with Ronald Koeman are advanced, and it's just sort of a matter of thrashing out the final details now. And that's going to be announced. Barca said in the statement tonight when they sacked Setien, they said a new manager will be appointed in the coming days. So they're obviously confident as well that talks are going well, and we expect that to be announced, if not tomorrow, then definitely by Wednesday. And it's a surprising one in as much as Koeman was offered the job in January around the time when Setien was appointed, when Valverde was sacked, and felt at the time that it wasn't the right time for him, despite the fact he's always, professed he's an ex-Barcelona player. He was a legend in the dream team under Cruyff. He was then an assistant manager to Louis van Gaal in the late 90s. He's always said that he wants to coach Barca. So perhaps it was a surprise that he didn't take it. So they would then take it now with the club in even more of a mess is perhaps a surprise. What's changed? I guess, he's maybe, at the time when he turned it down, he was focused on Euro 2020 with Holland. Maybe that delay to 2021 has made him sort of reevaluate things. He doesn't want to wait so long. He maybe feels that with Bartomeu set to go, and, there's the lingering shadow of Xavi Hernandez, who everyone knows at some point in the next sort of 2 years is going to come in and take charge. So maybe he thinks this is his last chance to take the Barca train. He's obviously also just recovered from a minor heart attack. So maybe he's thinking, he's not got long left in his managerial career, so that's the perfect reason. So from his side point of view, there may be reasons why he's decided to take it. From the club's point of view, they don't really have that many options, as we saw in January when people turn them down, and they're sort of grasping at straws and going for Koeman on this hope that he's got this profile of being a top player. His managerial profile doesn't quite match up. He's had hits and misses throughout his career. But they're hoping that it's more of it's a shot in the dark, really, that his profile and that he can manage the dressing room and oversee the changes that are needed.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.